You know how this House Ethics Committee has released its report on Matt Gaetz, and they detail all these crimes he's alleged to have committed, that they think that he committed? Well, it really pisses me off because it just underscores the fact that Merrick Garland was a colossal failure. In my opinion, the worst attorney general in all of American history, and no one else is even close, because of what we faced as a country while he was attorney general and him doing not a damn thing about it. And the Matt Gaetz thing just underscores that, because the House committee lays out all these crimes that they think he committed. And there was a time when it was widely expected, I certainly expected it, that Matt Gaetz was going to be indicted by the Department of Justice. In fact, I think Matt Gaetz expected that he was going to be indicted. And then, Merrick Garland decides, we're not going to indict him. No explanation as to why, just he's not going to do it. And it just, to see him make that decision, then to see even Republicans in Congress vote to release the report in which they conclude that Matt Gaetz committed all these crimes, just makes you, if you had any question, and you shouldn't have had any doubt at all, but just makes you realize what a horrendous failure Merrick Garland was. And the reason I say he was the worst attorney general in history, and to me, I don't even think it's debatable, is because he is the only attorney general in American history to take office immediately following a previous president attempting to commit a coup against the government, inciting a violent insurrection to overthrow the election and install himself illegally into power. That's a coup. He's the only attorney general in history to serve in the wake of something like that. And what did he do about it? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing, until he was forced to by the January 6th committee in the House, having their public hearings a couple summers ago, in which they presented all this information of Donald Trump's crimes and the conspiracy that he orchestrated to overturn that election. And it caught the Department of Justice completely off guard. If you'll remember, that was the reporting back when Cassidy Hutchinson testified, that prosecutors at the Department of Justice had no idea about any of this. You know why? Because they weren't freaking investigating it. Because Merrick Garland wouldn't let them. Merrick Garland did not want to investigate Donald Trump. And he clearly was not, until that information came out, and politically forced his hand to appoint Jack Smith as special prosecutor. But we had lost 2 years by that point. It took Merrick Garland almost 2 years to appoint Jack Smith. That should have been done on day one. The day he was confirmed by the Senate, he should have appointed a special prosecutor. But he waited almost 2 years, and he was forced to do it. If he had appointed Jack Smith on day one, Donald Trump would not be president today. I am absolutely 100% convinced of that. He'd be sitting in a federal prison. We would have been 2 years further along. So, for example, the case was delayed. Obviously, that's what Trump was going to do. And so then he was helped by the courts. The Supreme Court stepped in and delayed hearing his appeal forever, then took their sweet-ass time issuing an opinion. But finally they did, and it was a horrendous opinion, giving presidents all kinds of immunity for official acts and whatnot. But even still, it didn't dismiss the case. And Donald Trump, if that case had been allowed to proceed, if he didn't win re-election, he put on trial for that case, and he almost certainly would have been convicted and sentenced to prison, even with the Supreme Court ruling. They didn't save him with their ruling. They saved him by delaying their ruling for so long. Anyway, if Merrick Garland had appointed Jack Smith 2 years sooner, that Supreme Court decision would have happened 2 years sooner, right? And so it would have gone back to court in Judge Chutkan's court almost 2 years ago, and by now he would have already been convicted. He would have been put on trial. If that went on, if we were 2 years further along, it goes back to Judge Chutkan's court. 4, maybe 6 months later, there would have been a trial. Trump would have been convicted well over a year ago, year and a half ago. He'd have been convicted. His appeals could have run their course by now, and he would be sitting in prison. He would not be president. All because of Merrick Garland and his cowardice, which has now just been, and I don't know how much of it is cowardice or this ridiculous position of his where he went out of his way not to appear political. He wanted to make sure that the Department of Justice on his watch did not appear political. And how did he do it? By avoiding criminal investigations and prosecutions of politicians, or at least Republican politicians. And that's how he appeared, in his mind, appeared apolitical, by letting Republican politicians get away with their crimes. First on that list, obviously, is Donald Trump. But there are a whole host of others, including Matt Gaetz, for his crimes, and other members of the House of Representatives and the Senate who conspired with Donald Trump to illegally overturn the results of that election. It's not just Donald Trump who should have been prosecuted, but it's several members, Republican members of the House and the Senate. But Merrick Garland didn't want to do that. He didn't want to prosecute those people because it might look political. But that decision to avoid the appearance of politics at all cost, including by letting Republican politicians get away with their crimes, is by definition a political decision. So he tried to avoid the appearance of being political by being political. Politics shouldn't guide a prosecutor's decision at all. They should go where the facts lead and treat everyone the same under the law. That's what he pays lip service to, but never actually did. And because of either his cowardice or this corrupt sense of being apolitical, either way, it's because of Merrick Garland that Donald Trump will be president again. And if we're going to be honest about it, it's not just him, it's Joe Biden who appointed Merrick Garland and left him on the job. It was clear early on that Merrick Garland was not up to this task, but Joe Biden left him in there. Anyway, Merrick Garland is a fucking disgrace. Worst attorney general in American history, and no one else is even close.